What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. Give you a quick overview of some of the data points, what shorts did, and everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did close 2.5% in the green, 16.03 the high, 15.57 the low. So amazing close today. So it was able to close above $16. Kind of had very low volume, but then again, that was just similar scenario across the board. Market closed at 1. So that was one attributing factor. And then point number 2, I guess, is just this whole week is going to be fairly low volume. So 15.6 million shares being traded, 48 is the average. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So not all that much, and no news, no SEC filing. So it was legitimately just piggybacking off of the broader market. Shorts didn't really even do all that much. They did return around 56,000 shares today. 12.77% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 135.86 million shares overall are being shorted. And I should really learn to keep my mouth shut, because I even brought it up in my video yesterday. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen the cost to borrow minimum negative. Well, it's back at it. So there's that broker once again trying to stimulate some business. It's nothing really crazy, but I think in general, it is what it is, something to kind of keep in mind. I think with the new SEC transparency rule kicking in first half of 2025, that should add a lot of transparency for that and hopefully cause and be a deterrent against just short. So maybe that might naturally cause it to get to roughly like 8% or something along those lines. But aside from that though, there wasn't really, like I said, any news, but there was one good article that I wanted to bring up. So a lot of bears do frequently bring up that, hey, SoFi is crazy expensive. Looking at their forward PE of 118.93, that's unsustainable. This article is kind of talking all about that, compares it to brick and mortar banks. But ultimately, they're talking on the future growth. So even though, yes, there is a little bit of a premium added to SoFi's stock price, bigger picture, it's justified. That's kind of the moral of the story. I'll post this in the description below as well. So pop over there and kind of read it, especially for those of you that don't really have that much going on in the next day or so. So on a side note, Merry Christmas to all those that do celebrate. But again, if you have some spare time, then kind of read through this. I'm not really normally a fan of the 𝗪𝗧𝗏, but this in general I think was a fairly well written article. But aside from that, 9.74 million in calls, 2.66 million in puts. So a lot of money was getting into SoFi despite the kind of reduced day today. 51% of all the options being done today were optimistic in nature, and oddly enough, you still see a lot of optimism for it to be around that $19 range next week. So of course, kicking off 2025 with a very strong bang. And then aside from that though, for this week, it looks like a consensus for it to be around that $17 range. So I think both, in my opinion, are fairly achievable. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. The bears are anticipating for it to be sub $15. So in reality, a little bit more upside is anticipated. So again, something to kind of keep in mind. But you had still a lot of good transactions on the secondary market, so big money still looking at SoFi, which is always a good thing. Fintechs did get a lot of attention today on a side note, so I think it's just people are realizing that there isn't any real immediate fears in the market. So of course, I think everything is justifying higher highs. So it'll all come down onto the earnings though. So we'll just have to kind of see how that is. But with it closing at 16 and change, it is trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 1671 will be absolutely key in order for it to obviously that $17 and $19 range to come to fruition this week. So at least in the short term, once the market does reopen on Thursday, watch for 1671 to be that key pivot. And then flip side, 1571 to be the next strong support. And so I don't see that being touched, at least going forward. There's a lot of good momentum. So again, that's just my own viewpoint. But in SoFi's technicals though, it was able to fight back and stay above the ALMA. So that is at $15.47. So the technicals are still looking A-okay. Most likely what will be occurring in the first week of 2025 is that 50-day moving average is going to catch up into kind of this area right here. So that's where things are going to get fairly real. That's where SoFi on a technical level will either break up significantly, or I guess break up isn't the right word, break out in significantly, probably to around that $19 range, or potentially pull back to, let's say, around that $14 range. So it's things are going to get fairly real fairly fast, but again, I think based on the technicals and all the data points, it shows that higher highs are warranted. So let me know your viewpoint on that. Even looking on the short-term chart, things are looking a-okay. Still very oversold, so again, that could really stand to benefit in the coming weeks. But I think right now, SoFi closed absolutely strong as hell. A lot of good data points signaling, like I said, higher highs. So I think everyone is deserving of a good meal, drink, and whatever else floats your boat. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Did you buy anything today? Have you sold? I did do 1550 puts, as I've shared with you. I always like to sell puts, and then if it does dip, then I get to buy more shares. I guess just in SoFi's case, it hasn't really dipped come the Friday. So yeah, we'll wait and see how that does turn out, but I would not be against buying more shares right now. I'm more of one of those individuals that likes to sell calls and sells puts just to collect some additional premiums coming in. So that's what I did today. Aside from that, I've just been kind of watching the whole portfolio really move up and up, which is always a good thing. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon. I've been putting out some pretty good bangers out there for buy signals, stocks, options, and crypto. Again, so pop over there and take a look. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.